And we are live. We are looking at Sunspot 2738, which used to be called Sunspot 2736, but it went all the way around the sun. And now that it's back in the Earth-facing region, we noticed just a few minutes ago some radio outbursts indicating a possible coronal mass ejection has already come out of that sunspot region. Here's a view from 171 angstroms. This is just today, about the last 8 hours of solar activity. The umbra associated with this sunspot is very large. It's a big sunspot. Now we should watch it approach the equator as it rotates through. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on, as we now have an increased risk of all kinds of things. Here's a view in 94 angstroms. This view does take 5 times more photos than the other views, save for 131 angstroms. And we do see a bunch of crackling coming out of there. And we're going to look at all the rest of the data. We'll also look at the colored magnetogram, since there's a lot to look at. Again, this is the last 8 hours. So there's the state of that. The trailing North Pole associated field looks like it's actually growing in the last hour or two. It's about the most I can zoom in on this view. And let's move on to some other stuff. Here's a real-time solar wind. And we need that refreshed. All right, so we see the BT has dropped down a little bit. It was at a very high level a few hours ago. And the phi angle right at 165. I don't really think it's a risk for increased earthquakes at this point, although we have seen an uptick in the last couple days. Solar wind density 9.91 protons per cubic centimeter. So that's a bit elevated from where it was yesterday also. And the solar wind speed has just recently kicked up to 432 kilometers per second. And it looks like a coronal hole wind stream. I wanted to cite the 10.7 centimeter radio flux. Will now be shown at 77 today. Spaceweather.com needs to update. And let me get rid of this. Look at some more data here on spaceweathernews.com. So we see a couple pretty large B flares kicked off there yesterday, about midday. And we see a few more smaller flares. However, it would be no surprise to see a larger flare and or a coronal mass ejection today because of those type 2 radio outbursts that I spoke about earlier. These kind of radio bursts tend to be associated with coronal mass ejections and flare events. So we're actually looking for the data right now, and once again, we're broadcasting during a flare. KP index is up at 4. We've got unsettled geomagnetic conditions, and the GOES 15 is all over the place. So crazy magnetic anomalies going on there in the GOES magnetometer, and a huge dip in the electron flux. So that looks exactly like a coronal hole wind stream, although we oddly did not see the density drop down just preceding this uptick in the wind speed. So some odd stuff going on right now, folks. And the next thing we're going to look at is stereo A, because I want to see what's on the space weather beacon. Because if a flare just happened, or a coronal mass ejection just happened, rather, maybe we'll see it right away. Let's just see what we see here. Somehow I don't think the data is going to be new enough for that, but let's try out anyway. Well, the data's coming out to pretty recent here. We're a couple hours behind, but I'm going to blow this up to get the maximum resolution and play the next song. I think it's a little bit too early to check. We're going to come back to that and look at it again. In the meantime, let's look at the Geospace magnetosphere movies, as we expect to see some pretty serious perturbations here in the density and the pressure, not so much the velocity. So let's see what we see. And we'll explain a little bit about how these measurements are taken in just a moment. So there's the velocity. By the way, this track is called Chillatine 9, and it is available on the YouTube channel. We made a full volume version of it a few days ago, so check our video list for that. Here's the density. And we are seeing a little high density there. Again, the solar wind density is around 10 protons per cubic centimeter, a little higher than baseline. Here's the pressure, and indeed we do see a bit of high pressure here, especially on the magnetic tail. Indicating that the planet and the magnetosphere are in a receiving charge state. And there's quite a bit of charge coming in, it looks like. Before we look at the ground perturbations, let's look at where this data comes from. So this data comes from the Space Modeling Framework, and it's using University of Michigan's BATS-RS magnetohydrodynamic model, the Ridley ionosphere electrodynamics model, and the Rice convention model, the inner magnetosphere ring current model developed by Rice University. So it uses all those different systems in order to create that model. It is based on a lot of measurements. And here's the site that it directs you to. I don't want to spend too much time on this, as there's a lot of stuff going on. And we will leave links to this in the description after the live stream. Next, we'll look at geospace ground magnetic perturbations, changes in the B field, or delta B. First, we'll look at the poles. And we see quite a bit of magnetic fluctuation all over the place. We see the South Pole migrating toward Western Australia, as it typically does. Global scale pulses going through the oceans here. A lot of changes in the B field going on right now, folks. Here's the way it looks from a global perspective. We see pulses coming out of the Pacific Ocean, as we often do during times of geomagnetic unrest. So a lot of stuff going on. And let's look at the earthquake situation after I close some of these unnecessary tabs that we covered yesterday. Check out the USGS earthquake situation here. All right, I apologize for the delay. So we see a 4.2 in Azerbaijan. 5.7 in Chile, largest we've seen there in quite a while. Hopefully it didn't do too much damage. Let's zoom in on that. And what happened? All right, there we go. There's the location of that, just off the coast. And there's a 4.3 in Chile also, right at the same location almost. Excuse me. And this thing keeps scrolling up for me, so thanks for that. Here's a 4. Okay, here's a 4.6 in Indonesia, 4.5 in Chile, 4.7 in Vanuatu. This thing is not cooperating today. 5.7 west of Chile. 4.8 in Papua New Guinea. 4.6 in Indonesia. 4.8 in the Baleine Islands, very far south, nearer to Antarctica than any other continent. 5.2 at Tonga. 4.9 in Indonesia. 4.7 west of Chile. 4.4 at Russia. 4.6 at Argentina. 4.4 at Alaska. 5.1 near India. A 4.8 in the Philippines. A 4.8 in Mauritius. Here's a 4.9 at Ecuador. A 5.5 at Japan. A 4.4 near Easter Island. 4.2 at Chile. A 5.1 at Taiwan. A 4.1 at Alaska. And that's the last quake. So we are still seeing a 7 magnitude earthquake drought in these areas. Please be prepared for a disaster. High levels of solar activity, as we have right now, are associated with less earthquakes. But if that sunspot suddenly evaporates and is replaced with coronal holes, that raises the alert level. So if you're in these areas, please be an asset, not a liability, in the case of total destruction. Let's move on to windy.com and see what low pressure systems are moving around those areas. I guess I can't type very well. We're going to look at the pressure maps as anomalous low pressure systems are associated with earthquakes. So let's go to the warning areas and check out the lows. All right, so here's a low just off the west coast of South America. Let's get a forecast of where it's going to be moving. That would be your best guess for an earthquake would be down in this area. And let's see this low that was hanging out around Malaysia. It's still there. And there's another powerful low down here. So I would say New Zealand should be on high alert also. These are right by the plate boundary. I still say this is the weirdest low, though. This one right here. And how did I shrink my... I shrunk my pen. Oh, there we go. That one there is the most anomalous one of all. It's been sitting still. It's been actually moving east to west instead of west to east. So that is an oddity. And it's been there for several days. While we're on windy, let's just look at the wind at 9,000 meters to give us an idea of the jet stream, which has been exhibiting a meridional jet stream flow associated with solar minimum. You can see it's all broken up over the US right now. We're seeing triple jet streams and double jet streams, and here's some flow in the wrong direction here going northwest. The jet stream almost always flows west to east. Here's a wild breakup over Europe also. See some big bends there south of Australia. This is what's responsible for your weird weather, folks. It's the jet stream. It isn't your carbon dioxide emissions. Sorry. Let's look at volcanoes. I better hit refresh because I don't know what I'm looking at. I guess I was in the right place. Volcanoes today, April 8th. We see Ibu with an 8,000 foot plume. We see Broma with a 10,000 foot plume. Dukono with a 7,000 foot plume. Fuego, ash emissions likely. Reventador, 14,000 foot plume there. And Sabancaya. Sabancaya gets the volcano gold star of the day here with its 26,000 foot plume. I don't recommend doing a Fosbury flop over that. Let me enter the chat so I can see who's here and who's talking. While that loads, I'm going to get audio. All right, we're muted. Good. All right, welcome, Dustin, Harry. My facts don't care about your feelings. Part-time friend, Dakota Horn, Rod Wayne, and smAsho staff. Does the pop-out chat work with... Yes, it does. All right. No use of the Google Chrome browser here. We like that. Let's get rid of this. Let's look at the gong too. We're actually going to go back and look at the line of sight field plot to see what the effects of that sunspot are. Sunspot 2738. Okay. I don't see anything going on with it. Let's just look at the regular top view ecliptic plane field plot. All right, so we do see some undulations there in that green colored field. That is the north solar polar field there. And you see it's getting split up. See the way it's split in two right there? That's because of the sunspot. The sunspot is pulling back the North Pole field because it's so powerful. So that's why we're getting this like neutral zone here. That's because the sunspot is putting a pulling effect on the North Pole field, and that's why you're getting that. All right, and what else do we need to cover here? I have my tabs all out of order. I apologize. Let's look at cosmic rays. I would not be surprised to see a cosmic ray downtick, as again the solar flux is all the way up to 77. 10.7 centimeter radial flux is up to 77, folks. Apadity actually had a small spike yesterday, and Barentsburg is a couple days behind. Those Russians, they're not returning the data the way we would like it. Moscow, nothing for over 30 days. And let's look at Athens, Greece. There's the cosmic ray situation in Athens. Nothing to write home about there. We'll look at Mexico City's cosmic ray monitor. Small uptick there over the past couple days. And back to Oulu. Shout out to whoever told me how to pronounce Oulu. So we saw a recent little spike there at Oulu also. And here is DOMC Antarctica, uptick there. Early yesterday, they had the highest measurement in 30 days, at least. And there's DOMB. Not as high as they were on the 25th. There's a cosmic ray update. And good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. My facts don't care about your feelings. Why are you up so late? I go to bed at like 6 or 7 p.m. most nights. Now, don't use that information against me, folks. All right. Can anybody comment how many people are in the chat? I can't see it from this view, and I got to move on and cover more stuff. This probably didn't return any more frames yet. Let's just see what the last frames are here. Yeah, there could be a CME happening right now, folks. It's a little hard to see here, but there's definitely some ejecta, and it looks like it's headed down the pike. So this is something to look at later today. And you heard it here first. Let's look at even more data, as we have about another 20 minutes of data here. You haven't seen the 304 angstroms view yet, so let's check that out. So it's a big sunspot, and there is some activity. And let's give you a value-added service here. My tabs are seriously out of order, folks. I'm a little confused by it, honestly. Do a little bit of tidying up here. We'll look at the LASCO C2 to see if that shows anything. There's a date stamps, and it shows you several days. So I do plan on going live again here as this activity kicked off all of a sudden. And we're going to have another look at this later today. Look for that solar flux, 10.7 centimeter radio flux to come up to 77. And that's not what I wanted to do at all. Let's look at the Doppler radar over the US before we close this thing out. And it looks like it's going to be another good day for cycling, as at least where I am, as all this rain looks like it missed us. We're located under that pin somewhere near that area in Lehigh Valley, eastern Pennsylvania, for you new viewers who are not aware. We see some heavy storms over western Tennessee there, and a big convergence line. Alabama, and a nasty storm off Louisiana. If you're not familiar with lightningmaps.org, check it out the next time you're in a thunderstorm. It could save your ass, as it will show you the real-time lightning situation. And that's quite a strong system we got going down there. Otherwise, pretty quiet in North America. So yeah, check it out, lightningmaps.org. You'll actually be able to see the lightning bolt on the map before you hear the thunder. And these circles that emanate will actually give you some idea of when the sound of the thunder is going to arrive. Now, geez, they are really getting hammered down there. Shout out Alabama. Lightning Central. Don't ride a bike in a lightning storm. Things like tornadoes and severe thunderstorms are the only thing that prevent bicycle races. If you like bicycles, check out theveloshop.net. And I don't know, maybe get yourself a new mountain bike. I'm in the market for one of these too, unfortunately, as I'm getting a Felt AR3 2019 model road bike this year. Now, I'm a cross-country mountain bike racer. That's how I got my started in mountain biking and bike racing in general. I started in 1997 when I was 21, and I'm back. So anyway, there's some full suspension rigs. I would be looking for something in the lightweight category. And frankly, I have no idea about these things anymore. I have fallen behind in the technology. So let's give you one more view of the sun here before we get the heck out of here. I guess we'll go for the 193 angstroms view. Favorite of Suspicious Observers host Ben Davidson. There you have it. There you have today's solar activity, and keep an eye on it, folks, because it's kicking up. There are some radio emissions coming from deep within the sun. So just a quick information here about the 10.7 centimeter radio flux. That comes out of the corona. And there are different wavelength radio flux measurements that are to measure deeper portions of the sun. The higher frequency portions come from deeper inside the sun. And we use these radio outbursts to get an indication when a flare is going to happen. So we can actually pre-predict the flares and the coronal mass ejections a little bit before they happen. And that's part of the reason I did this stream. Welcome, Manuela. 11 viewers. Thank you, smAsho staff. We are out of here. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Thanks, donors. You have no idea how much of a difference you make. And we're going to be doing this again later today, probably late in the morning. So stay tuned to the channel for that, and look for, make sure you click that subscription bell so you see our community notifications, as we often put up updates when it's not convenient to shoot a video at the time. So occasionally we will put up something like yesterday. We put up the rising of this umbra. So stay tuned for that. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. We can't even get to 1,400 subscribers, folks. So tell your friends. Please share on social media. Please stare at the sun. And when you're doing so, don't drink. And if you drink, don't drive. And since it'll never be now again, may the solar wind be at your back and the atherosclerosis absent from your veins.